Welcome, children. This is we are talking today with Charles Astor. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Yes.
Out of Fort Smith, Arkansas. He's looking for some arm wrestling advice, coaching, strength training development. And since he could find 0 people in Arkansas who are strong enough to arm wrestle to coach him, he called me all the way up in Ohio. So the rest of you people in Arkansas looking for an elite arm wrestle to train with, call me, just like Charles did. You're 6 foot, 290 pounds, and you are 17 years old.
Right. Except for 30 years old.
30 years old. Okay. So what is it you're looking for, or how can I help you?
I'm looking to just get better at arm wrestling. I basically stumbled upon the journey just doing a couple practices. I found the Arm Bed app. I was a casual watcher. I'd watch 1 or 2 videos and I got really into it. Started training, been training probably less than 6 months. And upon, looking at different people, I found that you were, one of the strongest people out there, probably at the very least in body weight, pound for pound, but probably
certainly the strongest man in Arkansas.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And
including Rebecca Todd's husband.
I'd say so.
All right.
That guy's wrist, his wrist it just falls apart,
Mr. Glass.
Yeah. And so basically, I plateaued really quick and I looked towards different training methods. There's not really anything out there. The only person who really preaches like a real method was you. So, Steve Jobs, he always says, if you want something in life, you just ask. So I just emailed you and here we are.
And I replied.
Yep. That was awesome. I appreciate that.
Children, I answer every email, every text, and every message. Just not immediately, but I do answer all of them. All right. So what's your strength training athletic background? Before we get started, I mean, you're a month into arm wrestling, but most people come into arm wrestling because they've done something else. Me, it was archery, but other people usually come in because they can't play pro football or they can't play pro basketball or something. So where are you coming to me from at 30 years old, which is not old? I started at 35, but most people launch a strength-based career like in their teens.
Right. Yeah. And I feel like I should have started earlier, but I think it's fine. Yeah. So I wrestled in a little bit in high school, and then I did bodybuilding from like 16 to 19. Then I started doing powerlifting. At 23, I basically stopped powerlifting. I did a meet, squatted 500, deadlifted 565, benched 405.
Wait a second. Your squat was 500.
Yep.
Your dead was what?
565.
Okay.
And my bench was 405 in the gym. In the meet, it was like 370. But
what was your body weight then?
I think it was 245.
Ooh, okay. So you're way stronger than me. All right.
Well, maybe in some areas, potentially, but
not where it counts.
Yeah.
Nobody cares about benching or squatting.
But that being said, I quit. I basically just quit. I went to college and got into software and stuff. So I just kind of sat on my ass for years, and I just recently started working out. Got my lifts back up. They're not really quite what they used to be. I could probably bench 315 right now. I could deadlift. I haven't maxed out, but probably 500. I don't like squatting, so I just try to stay away from squats. Although I do have a safety squat bar, and I squatted like 300 for 5 last month, but
you could probably squat 400 pounds.
Yeah, probably.
Right.
Yeah.
So you are currently as strong as me. Actually, I think my bench is higher than 315, but not much. I've never, ever benched 400 in my life. I think I've been in the upper 350s. My deadlift has been over 500, but Okay, so we're about to say, so, except that I've had 25 more birthdays than you, we're about the same strength wise, except
Right.
we are about to, which is pretty awesome because we're about to transform your arm wrestling capability in the next 6 months. You will definitely see improvement. You will feel stronger in 2. You will be able to measure significant strength gains in 3. In 6 months, it will click, and then you're going to start seeing some massive freaking arm wrestling gains because you got a strong basis to start with. A lot of people come into this with very little core strength, and the fact that you've been powerlifting and stuff, you understand
Right.
how to program your workouts, and we don't have to talk about nutrition. We don't have to talk about anything else.
Right.
All right. So what's your current training regimen look like arm wrestling wise? Because nobody cares about any sport except arm wrestling, mountain climbing, and bullfighting.
Right. So I'll tell you what I did leading up to currently I just switched programs about 2 weeks ago. Prior to that, I do Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And basically what I would do is I would just do hammer curls, a set of 5 with a rope, and then I would go over
like on a
and I would
cable
do
machine or a rope tied around a barbell.
a rope tied around a pin stack.
Okay. Love the pin
And
stacks.
yeah, so I'll do 5. As far as my strength on that lift, I got up to like 120 pounds with both arms for 5. So it's not too bad, but I would say it was too good either.
It's 60 pounds an arm.
Right. And then from there I would go. So I have an arm wrestling table. And I had like a makeshift side kind of cable where I'd attach it to my squat rack, and I'd basically just do movements like I do, wrist curls, pronation, supination, and just get all those fundamentals and just do 3 sets of 5. But I think I was doing too many exercises. Now fast forward to 2 weeks ago, I just started my own, I guess you could say, version of West Side. I've been trying to emulate from, what you've been saying in some of your videos. And so I think I'm doing Sunday speed day, Tuesday max effort day, Thursday today would be my repetition day. So I'll pick a vector. After that, I have a country crush, and I'll just do like kind of half reps just with this on a cable. And then from there, I'll just do like kind of like supersets of just pronation with a ball, and then I'll do some like riser or radial movement, I guess that's called.
Mm-hmm.
And then and then I'll do some more cupping with like I forget what they're called. Is it cuppinator or something like that? The thicker one, the 3.5 inch. And that's pretty much it. And I'll do like a light set of barbell curls with like a 45 pound just to get some blood flow.
So I love the fact that you have a speed day and a max day and a repetition day. That's perfect. And you've got them spread out far enough. What are your max day lift weights?
Yeah, so that is a good question. I have it written down right here actually, but let's see. So part of the thing I was going to ask you today was just if it's okay to do some of these vectors, but because just real quick, it seems like there's back pressure, like a back vector where you have a cable in front of you and you pull it back, and then there's side pressure. But I also have, I guess, diagonal. So I turn my table to where the corner is up to the cable machine, and then I just pull it through diagonally. And I guess I've just been calling that like my diagonal.
That's fine. Yeah, and those all count. I mean, if you're familiar with the West Side, every one of those table positions is even let's say you were using your country crush handle and you pulled elbow pad to elbow pad. That's one max day. Spin your table 90 degrees, peg to peg is one max day. Spin your table 45, corner to corner. Those are 3 separate max days. You can max out on every single one of those. Right. As long as you keep rotating them. That's 3, but you're probably strong enough. You're going to need more than 3 max day vectors. You're going to need
right.
More's better, but at least 6, you know. Once you
Right.
believe in the West Side system, you can do 12 or 14 and you'll understand. As long as you're maxing out, you're getting stronger. But when you're first starting out, it's nice to do 4. So every month you come back to the same max day and see that you're getting stronger. Well, once you see that, hey, I'm adding 2 pounds every 4 weeks to my lifts. Okay, it's working. I can do this forever. You can't do it forever, but you think you can. You know?
Right.
And then you can embrace the system. Then you can say, now I'll go from 4 to 8. Now I no longer need to keep going back and double checking. All I need to know is keep pounding that
Right.
volume. Yeah.
So to answer your question, I just bought maybe like a few weeks ago a new cable machine where it's fully adjustable top from bottom. It has 2 cables. I only use one of them, and I feel like I'm using more weight than I was on the old style pulley that I had. So I don't know. I need to buy one of those things to measure the exact weight. But basically,
I don't care about the absolute weight you're lifting because all these machines are different. Everybody's
right.
table, handle, whether you're tied to a cable or a strap or a chain, I don't care about the absolute weight. When someone posts and I post my max lifts on my channel, right? I can lift, if I hook my wrist wrench to my pin stack through a nylon strap, I will lift 10 to 15 pounds more than if I attach my handle to a chain. All that stuff changes.
Right.
I am less worried about the absolute number than the month after month after month progression in PRs. So
Right.
we're all about raising the PR. I don't, I'm not going to beat you up on form. I'm not going to beat you up on max numbers. The 100-pound side pressure number is kind of like a 300-pound bench, right?
Right.
If you're doing less than 100, you will go from 60 pounds to 80 pounds very fast. Well,
Okay.
that's a 30% increase. You will go from 100 pounds to 110 pounds very slow, and that's 10%. The 100 pounds is just where we start measuring. I got a lot of 1 rep max movements that are under 100 pounds. But when people ask me what's a good number to start training, I picked 100. A, because I'm in America, and B, 100 is a nice Roman number.
Right. So hopefully you don't think I'm super weak when I tell you these. But so on my diagonal vector, so I've been doing it, I guess this is my 3rd week. I have a ball. And so I'm grabbing the ball and I'm pronating through.
When you
I'll
have a
take
ball, does the strap, like if I grab,
the strap comes out the top.
okay, so it's a pronating ball. It's not
Yeah.
the strap's not coming this way where you're pulling
Right.
backwards.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, it's coming out. And so, and I did that specifically to work pronation. That's why I started that with that one. But I'll do that, the diagonal vector with 85 pounds. I'll do side pressure vector with that with 70 pounds.
And these are 1 rep max numbers, or these are like reps? I mean, if you're repping 85 pounds, you can probably lift 95 or 100 pounds.
No, these are like 1 rep max. So,
okay. All right.
80,
So you're close
80
to
pound side pressure.
You're close to the 100-pound number then.
And 110 pounds back pressure where I grab it, and then I'm just pulling it straight back to the edge of the table.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And that's how strong I am right now. So.
All right. And you got that written down?
Yep. Yeah, I'm
All
looking
right.
at it right now.
So what are you doing for speed day?
So what I'm doing for speed day is so I have a bunch of bands like the Elite FTS ones. I guess they're like good ones or whatever.
I buy mine at Dunham's or Walmart. So I would have done. My bands for speed day are the black bungee cords they sell in the automotive section. Okay. Right. So yeah, I don't have a lot of money invested in any of my stuff.
But I'll start out just taking the band and I'm just doing straight side for every time.
You got the band in your hand. You're not using the handle.
Right. Just the band in my hand. This is just for a warm up. Yeah, I haven't used any handles so far for speed day actually. Okay. So I'll just grab that with no weight and I'll just do a few sets of 3 to 5, and then I put it weight on my pulley, and I'll attach a band to my pulley So I have the band attached to the weight, and then I'll do, I think, like 10 sets of 3 to 5.
So
And
you have been to the Westside Barbell website.
Yeah, well, I'm very familiar with it, mostly from my powerlifting background.
Yes. Okay, we'll talk about that in a second. All right.
And basically,
I made some variations to it. I love Westside. Louis Simmons has helped me immensely. His wife has helped me immensely. Anything I say that's Westside that they agree with is true. Anything I say that's Westside that they disagree with, that's completely on me. I don't
Right.
have an agreement with them or anything, but there are differences between training, benching, squatting, and deadlifting in an arm. The biggest one is when you are benching, you're using both arms. So you are
Right.
engaging both arms, both pecs, both backs, both lats. So when they say 9 sets of 3, 10 sets of 3 for speed day, they're training a lot more muscles. When we're arm
Right.
wrestling, we're only training half, right? Also, when you bench, you are moving that weight a very long distance. When we arm wrestle, we basically lock our arm in and bend at our waist. So on speed day, I up the reps. All right. So I don't do sets of 3, I do sets of 6. Okay. On speed day, just because bam, 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 3 times. Well, first you're using half the body, you're using half your body. Second, you're moving a third of the distance. Right. So you cut the work performed by probably 50% times 30. You've cut the work you perform from a benching by like 80 or 90%. So you ought to increase those 3 reps by 80 or 90%. Right. So if you increase it by 100%, those 3 reps turn into 6 reps. I'm not sure that you could derive any of this, but that's my thinking. So speed day on arm wrestling is usually sets of 6, not 3, only because there's less work, there's less distance, there's less work, there's less muscles, and there's less weight.
Right.
But this is stuff I believe. I will tell you throughout. There's stuff I know, there's stuff I believe, and there's stuff I've heard. This is stuff I believe. I don't know it, and I haven't heard it. But so speed day will be 6, because to be honest, you grab it, bam, 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 3. It's like, holy shit, I didn't really hardly do anything.
Right.
And if you step the weight way up, then you can't get to 3.
Right.
But when you and what I think you will find, but if you find something different, when you do your max, try and figure out how many reps you can do at 70% on speed day. And I think you'll find you can do 6 reps, where when you're benching, you can usually do 3 at 70% by the time you add the bands and the chains and everything else. So that's just, but we're still hacking our way through the rainforest on this. None of this stuff is known.
Right.
Stuff I believe.
Right. Okay. So, and then, and basically on speed day, I'll hit, and then I try to raise up really fast and absorb the weight coming back up. And it really hurts my elbow, but it seems intuitive. Like I need to, in a real competition.
Not absorb it. You want to reverse it.
Reverse it.
So when the weight's going this way, you bring forward. It shouldn't come back and stop, and then you go forward.
Right.
Speed day, if the band's there, I grab it, I pull it over, I lock in. Right? Bam, bam, bam. That's what Louis Simmons means by speed day. Ballistic speed day. That's why he puts the bands on it. It overspeeds the eccentric motion, and you accelerate it while it's going the other direction. So if it's going backwards at 10 meters per second, and then you go forward at 10 meters per second, you doubled the velocity. Force is mass times acceleration. The velocity doubled, the acceleration is high. So it's just a spike in acceleration when you reverse that weight. That shoves the force way high, even though the weight is way down. Right. And then we do something else, if you watched it, where it's a plyometric thing. So not only do you add the band, but then you come to a hard stop. So you add a chain. So you grab the weight, you pull it up where the chain stops, you reverse it, bam, bam, bam.
Okay.
Bam. You do that 6 times. So you're shocking the system at the reverse section, and you're shocking the system when it hits that hard stop.
Right.
That hard stop is something I added to the West Side system. Louis talks about plyometrics all the time. He just never added them to speed day. But this is where I think powerlifting and arm wrestling diverges. And this is where, if it agrees with West Side barbell systems, I owe it all to Louis. If it disagrees with what he preaches, then it's all on me, and he is completely blameless in it. And I am so sorry for misleading everybody. Okay.
Well, I know some people say, like, you know, if it's not in actually at his facility, it's just conjugate. And
I think that's true myself. I only use West Side because,
I mean, it really is West Side. It's fundamentally,
Louis
right?
Simmons is a freaking genius, but I don't think he knows what a conjugate is. Do you know what a conjugate actually is?
I have no idea.
All right. I don't know if you can see that. You see that where that says A plus B equals C?
Yep.
All right. Watch this. Now I'm going to cover this up. Now, you see where it says A plus B?
Mm-hmm.
You see below it where it says A minus B?
Yep.
A minus B is the conjugate of A plus B.
Okay.
Okay, that makes no sense in weightlifting. I have no idea what.
I don't know what that means in weightlifting, but you know, in math.
What I took the conjugate system to mean: constant variation to avoid accommodation. All right, variation does not equal accommodation. So I would love to sit down with him and go through this, but I don't know what conjugate. I don't know. Conjugate is a word that's been around for, and it means certain things. I don't know how he named his training system the conjugate system, but I don't care. You know what I'm saying? I'm not arguing with it. All I'm saying is this is the stuff I learned by reading every article he's ever written, and this is how we adapt it. Lots of handles, lots of variation, change the routine a lot, figure out where your weak spot is, throw tons of volume on that, push those PRs up. 90% of the time you should hit a new PR.
Okay.
All right.
So I guess I can get to these questions. Some of them you already answered. So, but I guess there's side pressure and back pressure. What about diagonal? I think you answered that.
This is what we're going. Okay, there's basically backwards, elbow pad to elbow pad, and there's sideways, peg to peg. Everything else is a combination of those two directions, right?
Okay.
You have an X and a Y axis, right? Everything else is some combination of either backwards or sideways. So you can train every 10 to 15 degrees, or you can train completely backwards, completely sideways, and you've covered the extremes of the motions you're going to do.
Right.
Okay. That'll just that will simplify a few things. Let's go through your questions, and then I will give you a basic overall structure. You can go develop your own workout routine, try it a few bit. We'll get back together as often as you want.
Okay, that sounds good.
All right, with nothing to buy. And I don't even want you to buy one of my t-shirts or one of my cat brushing brushes. How's that?
All right, I might buy one though.
Well, you can, because Christmas is coming up and there's no shortage of them because they're not in a freaking cargo container in a ship outside Los Angeles.
Yeah, I know. Okay, and now it will be often, I think. Okay, so how many different vectors should I use? Because I get the base fundamentals, right? There, this side, up, down, neutral, pulley.
At a minimum 4, so you can come back to it every 4th week. Now, I get a lot of people that say, I understand your training program, I'm doing it. I did max effort on 4 exercises in one day. It's 1 max effort per week. All right. since you're only a month or so into it, 4 would be fine. So week 1, pick 1 or 2 of your favorite handles. If you got the ball, all right, the ball could be elbow pad to elbow pad week 1, peg to peg week 2. Switch over to, what do you got? A country crusher or a multi-spinner or something?
I have everything. I have a multi-spinner. I have a fat cuppinator. I got a thin cuppinator.
Then grab the multi-spinner, pad to pad, peg to peg. Okay. Those can be 4 max effort exercises, and that will be fine for the first. We don't know. I don't know. I would think most beginners, that would be fine for a year. But since you have a strength training background, your central nervous system and your body's going to accommodate that pretty quick. So if you do those 4, and by the 2nd or 3rd month, you're not pushing those max efforts up, we will add more vectors.
Okay. And then how high should the pulley be? Should it be, because right now I just have.
That also changes. Every pulley height is a new max effort. What I do, I got 2 pulley locations. The ceiling and the floor. It's an 8-foot ceiling, and then it's a floor.
Right.
Okay. I primarily train off the ceiling pulley because all these fruity ass top rollers keep top rolling me, and they keep pulling me up, and then I can't ever pull anybody in my weight class. But I very rarely move the pulley anymore, except I have a match coming up next year where somebody's going to beat me off go and put me into a losing position. So half my vectors are now a floor pulley situation. But pulley so you got 2 handles, 2 table locations, that's 4, right? Plus 2 pulley locations. You now already have 8 vectors. So now you won't duplicate anything for 2 months.
Right.
Okay. But to get started, to get you on the team, to get you drinking the Kool-Aid on a regular basis, stick to 4. Pick high pulley or low pulley. Pick the 2 handles, the 2 table positions, and let's start getting some consistent PR set. Let's start setting a PR every single week. And then we can expand it to where you say, okay, you know what? I just know I'm getting stronger as long as I'm raising this volume and this. And you'll also understand the difference between if my multi-spinner goes up 2 pounds, my ball handle thing probably went up 3 or 4, because there will be a measurable, quantifiable offset between each vector.
Right.
So you don't have to raise a PR in every single one of them. You will know that if you set a PR on one particular vector, all your other vectors went up as well, because there is an offset on them, and it's very consistent.
And do you think I should do, because there's pad to pad, peg to peg, what about corner to corner? Is that
corner to corner is halfway between the 2?
Right.
You can, but to start with, let's just do the 2.
Okay.
Because it covers that range.
Right.
If you go pad to pad and peg to peg, corner to corner is half of each of those 2.
Right.
So you've already trained the pad to pad muscles.
Right.
Trained the peg to peg muscles. Going corner to corner, you're just activating half of each.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And
now 2 or 3 years from now, my advice will be different. But for now, there's no sense. We're going to simplify this.
So some of these questions.
And 2 or 3 years from now, when you've been pinning Michael Todd at will, right? And Corey West is now signing on to your channel for coaching. All right. Then we can talk about corner to corner.
Yeah, that's going to be some time.
And when you're dating Rebecca Todd's mom, that would. I see you're married. That was in bad taste. I'm sorry. I will edit that. I'm not going to edit it out, but I promise to. So just pixelate.
No, I think it's funny. I'll send my wife the video. I'm definitely that Rebecca Todd's mom, man. She's done. I'm just kidding. Okay, so some of these questions you might have already answered in your previous answers, but I'm just going to keep going through them, and then, be as brief or long as you feel. So, Okay, so you just answered I basically just asked about how, there's fundamentally with all my handles and everything, there's like over 200 combinations. You could really, so you answered that. Okay, how do you,
I'm usually training 20 or more max effort vectors at a go. Okay.
so this
We're
question,
going to limit you to 4. Now the question is, what are you going to do on speed day?
so I don't know. I feel like my weakness, or I feel like where I need to be fast is just hitting to the side, even though I don't really do that. Like if I arm
Which
wrestle
vector
someone,
are you going to do on speed day?
oh,
The speed day should be one of your max effort vectors. And the question, there's 2 questions. Which vector are you going to do on speed day? And do you change your speed day vector? So there's 3 questions. And how often do you change your speed day vector?
right. That's actually, I wrote those questions down with,
right.
coincidentally.
Your speed day your primary speed day vector should be the one that is most important to you, which should be your weakest one. If you are a top roller and peg to peg is your weak point, make that your speed day vector. Okay. I don't know about changing it. I usually pick, I will usually have 12 or 16 max day vectors and 3 speed day vectors. The 3 are my top 3 weakest vectors. Okay. I would suggest for you pick your weakest vector or your most important one or the other, and don't change it for the next 2 or 3 months. Run through your 4 max day vectors for the next 2 or 3 months. And as long as your PRs are going up, don't change anything. As soon as you stall on a PR 2 weeks in a row or 3 weeks in a row, we'll get back together. We will change your speed day. We will start varying your speed day vectors, and we will throw volume on that part of your max effort that's causing you to fail it. Okay. So pick 4 speed days, 4 max efforts, 1 speed day. As soon as your PR stop increasing, we will reconvene. We will add max day vectors. We will add speed day vectors, and we're going to dump a bunch of volume on the weak point. But we're not going to be adding conventional wrist curls and risers and shit like this. We are going to train the weak points of your vector in the vector. So if you have your multi-spinner, right, and you try to hit a max effort, but your hand shaking, then we're going to train this with the multi-spinner. Okay. Because what we're trying to do is push the multi-spinner max effort up. If the hand locks in and you go sideways and it just opens up, we're going to train elbow and shoulder. Okay. Which is why we got to find out when you're stop raising PRs. I need those videos because we need to see where we're going to throw volume on it. I'm going to drop a video this whole grabbing a freaking 1.25 inch barbell and resting it on our knee, on our thighs and wrist curling. I have yet to see an arm wrestling move that looks like this. I have yet to see an arm wrestling move that looks like somebody grabbing a dumbbell and curling it, or even hammer curling it. I don't know any arm wrestling moves that look like this. I know a lot of arm wrestling moves that look like this, but I don't know any arm wrestling moves that look like all this weird, very isolated muscle group training stuff. So we're not going to do a lot of that, right? Okay. We're going to pick vectors that, what was the word you used? Approximate arm wrestling, but don't replicate it. Then we're going to work those parts of the vector that is preventing us from raising our max effort on that vector. And now we are going to show bada boom, bada boom, bada boom, bada boom, increasing strength levels. And it's going to be recordable and it's going to be repeatable and everybody's going to see it, you know. But for me to tell you, you need 5 sets of 20 wrist curls with 200 pounds on it. Then you need reverse curls and hammer curl. That all sounds like bodybuilding routines to me. And if you've got a powerlifting background, you go, what? I'm used to going into the gym. I'm used to lifting a lot of weight and doing 40 reps in 40 minutes and going home and eating a great big breakfast. That's how we train on this channel. Okay. We like big weights, short workouts, huge breakfast. Okay.
Right. Yeah, the specificity is definitely, I think that's where it's at. I agree. It's like, I think that when you're, if you want to make your muscle bigger, it's one thing, but if you're trying to get stronger, I don't think you should be doing.
We don't post pictures of our arms on my channel. We post pictures
Right.
of the weight we lifted with them.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, so this is an important question. How do you go about managing working out and practice? I have two guys I train with, and typically we practice on what would be a speed day. Does that impact me? Should I move for practice to a max day? Should I do both or replace it? Does it matter?
Table time is not considered in laying out your routine. We don't make alterations to a routine for table time. Table time is table time. It's completely separate from weight training. You set up your speed day, max day, volume day. You set up your isometrics, your auxiliary work, your capacity day. You lay out your weight training routine because that's what you are going to do day in and day out. You go to table time. If you go to table time and you're all weak and beat up, that's fine. So you're practicing when you're weak and beat up.
I need to know.
You do not alter your strength and your conditioning time based on table time. Table time is like a scrimmage, right? It's like skills development, right?
Right.
You do not, table time is not considered in laying. I would train 12 to 14 times a week, and I'd be on the table 0 to 2 times a week.
Right.
A tough table time session will knock you back in the gym. But max effort day is the max effort you can do that day. It ain't the max effort you can do in competition. It's what you can do that day. So if your table time's on Wednesday and your max effort day is Thursday morning, your max effort lifts might be down because you're sore and you haven't slept right, you didn't eat right.
Right.
But that's just the way it is. You want to move that stuff around, that's fine.
Right.
But table time does not impact, and it is not a consideration for strength training. Strength training is training strength. We are developing force, power, work, and speed in the gym. Table time is where we apply it and we decide whether or not we are going to cap or not cap, hook, top roll, that kind of stuff. Do not confuse table time with training. Table time is not where you get stronger.
Table time could be any day, doesn't matter.
It can be 2 or 3 times a week. I so don't care. I mean, I get that question a lot, and I never fully explain it well, but I just say
I think that makes sense.
I had somebody over today, right? I worked out twice today, and somebody showed up and we got on the table and we pulled. I don't say, oh, I can't pull you. It's Thursday evening. No, you get on the table and pull every chance you get, but that does not affect your training.
Right. Okay. And then I've watched a lot of your videos, but I don't know what a reverse vector is. What is?
See, you have to watch every video to the end. You can't skip the commercials, and when you go to bed, you got to put it on autoplay so it keeps playing. Reverse vector is, let's say I got your multi-spinner, right? And we're doing pad to pad back pressure, right? So let's go this way. The reverse vector is I do it backwards. It's easier to see. Let's say I went peg to peg. So say I got the multi-spinner and I go peg to peg this way, right? So then grab it in this hand and pull. So now the weight's coming this way and I go peg to peg backwards. Okay. So that's the concentric motion on the forward vector. And then you spin the table around and you pull it backward. Now I can do 100 plus pounds this way. I can do like 10 pounds 10 times the other way. It's the exact vector you're doing backwards. So instead of working this side of the arm, you're pulling from here. Instead of curling your wrist, I don't know if that's supinating. I don't know what the opposite of that is, but yeah, I just do that to balance the whole joint in the arm out.
No, that makes sense. Okay.
I gotta ask you to hold on a second. Sing karaoke or something. I gotta go to the bathroom.
Okay.
Look at these two guys from Florida arm wrestling. I'll be back in a second.
I guess since this is going to go on YouTube, I could just talk to some audience. Yeah. That. Then I proceed not to talk. Todd's got his arm wrestling table right there in his room.
Did you miss me?
Oh yeah. So I try.
Everybody in Arkansas is going, where's the strongest mind in Arkansas?
I attempted to talk to your audience, and I came up blank, so
just sing songs.
Yeah.
My audience loves it when you sing whatever song's currently in your head. They love the Violent Femmes, by the way. Oh, for those of you that are 30 years old, the Violent Femmes was a very popular song in the 80s.
Okay.
A very popular band from the 80s. What else you got?
I was not aware. Okay, yeah.
I know.
I guess you already went over this, but what percentage should speed day be?
I start at 60%, and this is all in Louis Simmons's thing, but it doesn't really apply. 60% of the weight plus bands. But what I do is that's just a starting point. So if you're 100-pound side pressure, a 60-pound weight plus bands, sometimes you want to like throw a lot of band pressure onto it because you want to get quicker reaction times or something. Sometimes you don't have enough bands, so you add weight. I add as much weight or band tension as I can until I slow down. As long as you're ballistic in the reversal, add weight. As soon as you start going, as soon as you're catching it and grinding it, reduce it and go back to, because the whole idea of speed day is acceleration. It's rapid reversal of the velocity.
Okay, perfect.
And you constantly add weight. You add weight to your volume days, your speed days, your auxiliary days, always add weight, even if it's 2 pounds or it's just 2 reps. Keep adding volume.
Keep adding volume to the speed day?
Every day.
Okay, okay, that makes sense. So I guess, and then on speed day, should the goal be maximum speed or power? Like, and I think you already answered this, which is just, you want to just keep reversing until you slow down.
Power is work divided by time.
Right.
So, and work is force times distance. So raise the force, increase the speed, which decreases the time. That increases your power. But yeah, constantly add weight as long as you're not slowing down. And Louis preaches that. That's not even a interpretation.
Okay. And so this is the same question, but just with volume day, right? What percentage should I be doing on my volume vector? And should I be hitting PRs?
No. Volume day is all about capacity and muscle growth. So I choose sets and reps. All right. So I choose 10 sets of 5. All right. That's 50 reps. And I pick a weight that I can do 10 sets of 5, and I add weight every week. As soon as I cannot hit 10 sets of 5, 2 or 3 weeks in a row, I switch the vector and start all over again. Volume day is always about increasing volume. Where you start, if you start too low, you feel like you kind of wasted the time. All right. So I get to where 10 sets of 5 is, I can do it, but I'm comfortable. All right. So I'll start at, say, 80 pounds, then add 5, add 5, add 5, add 5. I don't want to leave the gym. Volume day is not about working to failure or grinding it out. It's about hitting that 10 sets of 5 with minimum rest, adding weight every week. But if I can't hit the 10 sets of 5, 2 or 3 weeks in a row, I switch the exercise, start over again, and just keep grinding it out. It's all about just throwing capacity.
And should that be the same vector as your max the vector on your
To
max
me,
day?
it's usually a two-handed vector that works on. So for me right now, I'm working on top rolling. So my volume day is a lot of this type of stuff. It's a lot of knuckles up, that kind of stuff, right? But I'll superset it with something like that. But volume day just needs to be. It's boxers do a lot of jumping rope and they do a lot of running. Volume day is jumping rope or running to arm wrestlers. Pick something, pull-ups, something that works a lot of your body, that builds work capacity. So, because when your PRs go up, this is the whole point. Whether you are a 400-pound bencher or a 800-pound bencher, you probably start warming up at 135. All right. But if you warm up at 135 and go to 400 pounds, right, that might take you 9 sets. Starting at 135 and going to 800 pounds might take 20 sets.
Right.
That's a lot more work capacity.
Right.
Volume day is all about building the capacity and the endurance to hit those high PRs, because I still start out with my multi-spinner. I start out at 30 pounds. Whether my max multi-spinner weight is 80 pounds or 110, I start at 30.
Right.
So it takes that, you need that work capacity because you got to add all those extra sets in.
Right.
That's volume day. And volume day is nice if you're at a tournament and it runs long and the refs talk and they do those speeches. It's nice that you're not all, blowing hard and passing out and stuff, that you're like, oh, okay, I just take a little nap and have a sandwich.
Yeah, I do. I'm also a little overweight, so that could probably be a little of that, but let's see. Oh, okay. What do you think about high rep training for the hands and wrists? Similar to those, 50 radial rises or, things like that.
I think that's crazy. I mean, I think that's what endurance runners would do.
Okay.
Right? I mean, when you get into super high reps, that's kind of what like an endurance runner would do. Well, and then, somebody who can run a marathon probably does 10,000 or 1,000,000 steps. He's not going to set a squatting record. We're arm wrestlers, right? To win a tournament, how many matches do you think it takes to win a tournament if you go undefeated?
Six,
maybe 7 or 8, depending on rep. You know what I'm saying? Why would I do 50 reps of anything if I only have to be max effort at 6, right?
Right.
I do a lot of 15 and 20 rep stuff, and I'm starting to think that's too much. I'm almost starting to think the perfect arm wrestling routine is all heavy isometrics and then sets of 6 for volume.
Yeah.
I'm not willing to bet everything on that, but I would love to spend some time and develop it. But I almost think that when we get to the unified theory of arm wrestling, we are going to do isometrics, back pressure, side pressure, cupping, rising, and then we're going to do like 10 sets of 6 for volume. It'll be done. I think a whole arm wrestling workout's like 30 minutes long, and it's 14 workouts a week.
Okay, so that how much volume are you getting on your wrists and hands after your vector days?
It's all published. I usually do 3 to 4 sets, and it's usually 10 to 15 reps. So I'll do the vector. Let's say it's a wrist wrench. I'll do the vector, and then I'll reduce the weight, and it'll be 3 to 4 sets of 10 to 15 just wristing it.
And that's on
in the exact same vector, because now, I did the wrist wrench. So all those muscles have already been used, and now I'm hitting the weak spots, and I'm only doing the hand stuff because that's the weak part of my vector. If your hand is strong as shit and it's not collapsing, we're not going to throw a lot of hand work on you, right? If it's your shoulder, if it's your elbow letting loose, we're going to do your max vector, and then we're going to work your elbow or shoulder or whatever's holding you back. But for me, it's almost always my hand.
Yeah, my pronation right now, I think, is holding me back. At least when I arm wrestle.
No, if your hand starts quivering or shaking once the weights get heavy, your hand is definitely weak.
Okay. And that is, I guess that answers that. Do you go heavy on arms or wrists?
But
So
I
I
have a
guess
max effort day and we have a speed day. Yeah, we are constantly
okay.
lifting, but I don't have a max effort day on wrists because you
Um,
use your wrist when you train vectors versus wrist curls, biceps, hammer curls, all that
right.
bodybuilding stuff. When you're actually approximating but not replicating, which is your term, arm wrestling, when you got a wrist wrench or a multi-spinner and you go sideways, you've engaged the wrist, the bicep, the shoulder, the back. The problem
Right.
is you just got to figure out which one of those is the weak link. And now we're going to throw a bunch of volume on that weak link.
Okay.
I'm
That
not going
makes
to spend a whole lot of time training shit that don't need to be trained.
right.
Right?
Right.
You will never see a dedicated bicep movement in any of my workout videos because my biceps are not holding back any one of my lifts.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, because I was wondering, like, are you doing, a max day wrist curl or a
Absolutely not.
max day speed? Okay.
Now I used to when I started, but I don't. No, this is still in the development stage, but no, I don't max that stuff out. I max out big
Okay.
muscle groups.
And I guess you already answered this, but how important is it to do statics? Can I do those on the same day as my vector days, or should I do those on separate days?
You can do first static and isometric means two things to arm wrestling. A static is if I grab that bar and I hold it in place, people call that a static. But what's really happening when I'm doing that is as I get tired, it falls down. So I call that a static. Really, that's just an incredibly slow negative.
Right.
You know, from your powerlifting training, we don't do negatives. Negatives
Right.
increase soreness and they lose coordination and stuff. Now, if I chain my arm to the floor and lift that weight up against a hard stop, as long as I keep that cord strong, now I'm doing an isometric because I'm still doing the concentric movement, but it's
Right.
not moving.
So
That's
sort
an
of like
isometric.
Travis Badgent. I think he tells people to grab a band, put it next to your chin, and just hold it and go back. Is that's sort of an
That's a
isometric as well?
band. That's not a hard stop.
Okay.
So that would be that would be an incredibly slow negative. And Travis is a bad dude, but no, I absolutely would not train that. I think that just increases soreness. I don't know how you get better at that. You're trained against a hard stop. You got a weight that you know you're lifting. You're lifting more than that because you're keeping the stop tight, and you got a time that you're doing. So I can constantly increase my isometrics. Isometrics and statics do not mean the same thing in the arm wrestling community. Statics to me are a waste of time. I would not spend 1 second. I don't even like debating them. Isometrics, I almost think could make 80 to 90% of your workout.
Okay.
I mean, I think if you only could do 2 or 3 hours of training a week, I'd say do isometrics. I'd give you a series of bands. I'd give you a length of chain to where you pull that band until that chain's tight. And I would have you do nothing more than do static exercises at the starting position, a slightly losing position, a slightly winning position, a flat position, I would just have you do nothing but isometrics.
Okay. And then more to that question, I mean, are you doing that stuff on max day, or is that just a separate day from?
I do it on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Okay.
So
and are you
my speed day, my max day, my speed day's Monday, max day's Wednesday, volume day's Friday. I do isometrics Tuesday and Thursday evenings after auxiliary work, pull up and row day. That's just because it worked out that way. Because I do JM, I do a max on. That's just how it worked out for me. But I would not have a problem doing a speed day in the morning and isometrics at night. Max day in the morning, isometrics at night. Volume in the morning, isometrics at night. I would not have a problem doing isometrics 7 evenings in a row.
Okay. And
isometrics do not cause soreness. They really don't wear you out. They might cause a lack of coordination, but and they allow you to train at near maximal weight. So yeah, I would throw as many isometrics in as you feel comfortable. I actually think that's the future. I'm just not willing to throw all my dice into that basket yet.
Right. And with that, are you for an isometric day, are you training all of the different pressures, like top rolling
I
pressures?
pick one vector and I do isometrics on that one vector.
Okay, perfect.
Or 3 to 5 sets at a particular. What I do is I try to pick a percentage of the weight and try to do it 3 to 5 sets, or I try to do increasing weight to failure.
Okay.
I don't have a real science on it, but I like heavy weight isometrics.
And then, so how much volume are you using now versus 20 years ago? And I say that because
a lot more. The stronger you get, the stronger you get, the older you get, the more volume you have to do. You have to constantly increase the volume.
Right. This is progressive overload, basically.
Well, progressive overload is training to failure. My volume doesn't go to failure, but it does. But I do.
Right. Adding more sets or more reps or more weight.
That's why I write everything down. And every couple of months, like on my kettlebell swings, on my abs, on stuff, I just add 2 reps to it. Boom, 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 And then when it gets to like 20 reps or something like that, which just takes too long, then I add the weight. I go back to 10. I do 10 for a few months, then 12, then 14, 16, 18, 20. Then I go back down and, you're constantly adding volume.
Okay. And so I noticed, speaking of volume, I noticed you do pull-ups. You pretty much work out every day, and you're doing pull-ups between your, let's say, arm wrestling workouts. So you're kind of hitting arms like every single day, and there's no.
I think you can train arms every day.
Okay.
The arms are small. They're not big muscle groups. I don't do a lot of failure stuff. Max day is the only time anything ever really goes to failure. You go to failure on a volume day, you really didn't hurt. You recover pretty quickly. I don't train arms on Sunday, which is squat day. So yeah, I train arms about 6 days a week, and a lot of those days I train them twice a day. So I'm probably hitting my arms 10 to 11 times a week.
Okay. Let's see. Oh, I know you used bands for years starting out. Do you think it's appropriate to use bands instead of weights as a beginner?
Of course. For years, I only had bands. Bands are so close to approximating arm wrestling. They're so ideal because they have give to them and they teach you to hit and they teach you. Yeah, bands are awesome for arm wrestlers. Bands are probably better for arm wrestlers than they are for power lifters.
Okay. Let's see. Okay, yeah. You said not to compete in amateur. I competed in the Fatal 4-Way. I think it was in August or September.
You competed in the event that had the Fatal 4-Way. You weren't actually one of the 4 ways. Yeah.
No, I wasn't. That's right.
I think amateur classes teach people bad habits, right? It gives them this weird sense of accomplishment. And then I think people start doing things to win the amateur class, and then they get into a pro class and it's like they got to start all over again. And what really bothers me is when an amateur pulls the amateur class and the pro class at the same tournament.
That's what I did.
For crying out loud, why do the pros go last then? Run the pro class first. Let's get it over with, and then let the amateurs who are going to pull both anyways.
Right.
I think amateur classes are for revenue generation. I am against amateur classes. I'm not against age classes. Right. If you're in high school, you should pull high school kids. I might agree to a 17 to 20 year class. I don't know about that yet. But yeah, I am against amateur classes, novice classes, beginner classes.
One thing that I noticed about them was there were guys who probably have 5 years of experience pulling an amateur. I thought that was kind of weird,
Well, it is weird. I just don't understand what the purpose of an amateur class is. I mean, if you're going to stay, unless you're like a bobsledder or something, and I'm going to join the Olympics, well, then you're probably not arm wrestling anyways. But other than that, amateur classes are not teaching beginners how to arm wrestle. they're teaching beginners how to not arm wrestle. And then I got to like untrain all that stuff.
Okay, so
I do not represent the popular side of this argument. I understand there will be 10,000 people not 10,000 because I only have like 3,000 subscribers, but 2,900 subscribers will disagree with me. But I just do not think I think amateur classes cause a lot of harm. I do not think they produce one benefit other than increasing the entry fees at a tournament. I think it's a revenue generation thing. I think it's like parking tickets or speeding tickets or something. Right. I don't think it benefits society. I think it generates money, and generating money. Look, I'm a capitalist. I'm all for it. But if you're going to run an amateur class, run it last. Let the pros go in, pull, then let us sit at the bar drinking while the amateurs who already pulled the pro class then go out there and, pull again.
I lost either way, but I think
that was because you were trained in Arkansas style, but now you came to where we're going to get you fixed up.
All right. Okay. So as a beginner, should I be taking time off to let my tendons fully heal? After
you should be doing JM presses and your tendons will get stronger.
Okay. Let's see. Oh, here's one. This is just kind of random. So this doesn't happen with my right hand at all. And I know I've watched a previous video where you said, don't ask you anything about injuries. It's not really an injury, but when I'm pulling with my left hand, if someone takes my hand, like my pronation, I guess, I can feel my wrists almost pop out of my, I don't know. It just feels like it pops out.
That sounds bad. You should go see a doctor or a vet. Or take some drugs and stop talking to me about. I'm not going to give you medical advice. You know what? My shit's bulletproof and it don't fucking break, and I can't tell you what to do with your weak ass shit. Okay?
It doesn't happen on my right, so
nobody cares about the left.
Right. Okay, and then I guess just some general pull. Okay, so one thing. So I play I do softball too.
Oh, that's going to end. As soon as you become a good arm wrestler, you will no longer be able to throw a ball.
So that's already happened. So
your days of throwing a ball, playing frisbee, bowling, all that shit's over.
I'm playing.
But you're going to get a lot of free T-shirts, so it works out.
Exactly. So I'm on my team, and I'm a pretty big dude, right? And they're just like, why can't you throw?
You're 290 pounds. I arm wrestle.
It hurts my arm.
Like, that outweighs you by like 120 pounds. 290 ain't big anymore. When I first started, a 300-pound arm wrestler was a big arm wrestler. This is how the sport's grown. Now, seeing 400-pound people arm wrestling, it's commonplace. I mean, I remember the first tournament I went to in Vegas. There's 300-400-pound dudes just talking to each other. And I was with Bob Brown. I go, what the hell? What happened to the 300? He goes, yeah, those are big guys, and they're fast. The thing is these big guys are coming in and they are fast.
When you set up for arm wrestling, some things kind of confuse me. So typically what I've been doing is I just put my elbow at the top right corner of the pad starting out. Is that something that everyone should do, or should you not?
You put your elbow at the losing side of the pad?
Yes.
Huh. So you're placing your arm as close to the pin pad as you can.
Yes.
You do not want your arm on the pin pad. And where you start is as close to the pin pad as you can be.
That's right.
You want to retract the question?
Well, people told me this. Did
I tell you this? People in Arkansas might have told you that, which is why you came here.
Right. Okay, so that answers that.
Hold on just a second.
I guess would it be? Yeah.
Hey, Renee, can you grab me a beer? Okay, come back.
I could have sworn you grabbed some earlier.
I know, but you talked so long. I thought you Southern folks didn't talk that much.
I'm originally from California, so that's
Oh,
probably
that
why.
explains it. How's that governor of yours working out?
I don't know. He's not my governor. I moved out 10 years ago, but
Actually, I like the governor of Arkansas. I think he's doing a good job. I think
yeah.
you moved to the right state.
Um, so then would you start out in the middle of the pad, or are you trying to do closer
Well, it
to where
kind of
you're?
depends where you want to set up, to be honest. But yeah, I would want to be, and what the other guy does kind of dictates it, you know.
Mhm.
But being on the far right just increases the likelihood of you elbow fouling. If some guy just blasted sideways, you might slip off that pad with no recourse.
Okay.
It's safer to be front or back, depends on your arm height versus his. I assume you're pulling men's classes. If you're pulling if you're still pulling girl classes, then front or back depends on your arm height versus hers. Okay.
Right.
If you could set up on the far left, that would be ideal, but that's almost never going to happen because that's going to kick you over. Right. But it kind of depends how flexible you are and how far you can turn. But setting up way on the right side of the pad, even if you moved way over, because you want your shoulder behind your hand. You don't want your hand outside your shoulder. So, but that's
Right.
all beginner type stuff. When you're in practice, you'll try all that. You will figure all this stuff out in practice,
Right.
and you'll answer it yourself.
Well, yeah. I mean, and one thing that just occurred to me just a few days ago is like, as far as elbow placement, should it be flat on the elbow? Should it be more almost on my tricep, but still on the elbow, if that makes sense?
I
Like,
float. Once again, it depends on the girl you're arm wrestling, because when I'm wrestling really tall girls, if I put my elbow down, they swallow me and they can generate so much height. So I actually float my elbow off the pad a little bit because the refs aren't looking there and it looks close, but allows me to get my knuckles up. You're
nice,
less worried
nice.
about where your elbow is. You're more worried about where your knuckles are relative to hers.
Okay. Just to be
You're not
clear,
even batting
I
at
don't
these
arm
jokes
wrestle.
about you pulling
I
the
don't.
female
Just to
classes.
be
Right? You're just eating this shit up, right?
I was just about to say, just to be clear, I'm not arm wrestling women. Although there is some that could probably beat me, honestly.
I know 4 that can beat you.
Yeah.
I know 4 easily that can beat you. Hell, I think my mom can beat you if you've only been arm wrestling a month. My mom weighs like 80 pounds, and I think she can beat you.
Let's make it happen. And then, okay, so when you start, another thing in starting, how close, should your arm be to your wrist? Should it be like out a little bit, or should it just be all the way fully tucked?
No, this is something that I might not be able to help you so much. So if you're going to pull inside, you want your shoulder behind your hand, and whether your hand is flat or not, because you're generating all that side pressure from here. But a lot of top rollers will set up open like that, and they'll almost drop to generate height. Okay. All of that you got to figure out for yourself. That's a geometry problem, and you can't dictate that because a lot of it depends on who you're pulling. You might want to set up like this, but if you got to arm wrestle me and your arm's 4 inches taller than mine, I'm going to set up like that. You're going to be forced to come down.
Right.
So how you set up, what you need to do is figure out how to position your hand and protect your hand, whether you are coming back East Coast style, this way Brazilian style, hooking traditional style, or doing some kind of European chopping thing. You just gotta work that stuff out, and you got to be able to change it at will. And if you're truly blessed, you can almost do a press. So, right. But that's all stuff that's all stuff you learn at table time.
Right. And so I have 2 guys that I practice with, and they're definitely, I've tried to explain, I've been explaining that practice is practice, not competition.
It's hard to it's hard
I do
to
think they're getting it.
Beginners.
I do think they're getting it, but I don't want to go full out every single time, right? I want to practice maybe my top roll. I want to try
put a band around them and let them go full out. Grab a rubber, if you're arm wrestling rubber, right-handed, put one of those jump stretch bands around the right arm, bring it around their back, put it in your hand. Now the band's helping them, let them go full blast. No, if you want somebody that's going to hit ballistic, put a rubber band on them so that you can freaking hit full blast too. That would be awesome.
Okay.
And go to as many practices as you can. You probably can't find anybody in Arkansas worth practicing with, but you can come to Ohio. There's a lot of strong people in Ohio, way stronger than Arkansas.
Oh yeah. I don't know anyone strong.
Except for Rebecca Todd. She's pretty strong.
Yeah. I think that's literally all my questions. So I don't know. We could talk some more, but
you don't have to answer all of them because we're going to talk again as soon as you.
Right.
So what are you going to do for me before we meet next time?
Right. So, well, I'm going to email you again, and then I'll get your Dropbox or.
You're going to pick 4 or 5 vectors.
Pick 4 or 5
max
vectors.
Day.
Yep.
1 or 2 for speed day. 1 for volume day. Right. You're going to start working out. You're going to send me a video of your max days and your speed days, and then we will reconvene and we will work on your volume and auxiliary days and stuff like that. Now, those are only 3 workouts. You want to throw isometrics? Those are evenings. You can do as many of those as you want.
Okay. For volume day, can I still use a vector for volume day, or
you can? But since it's like huge, since it's like 50 to 100 reps, if it's a vector, it's now 50 on one hand, 50 on. I mean, if you want to like camp out in the gym, that's fine.
I don't. My gym's in my garage, and I don't.
Right.
I don't even like
so
going there.
That's why pull-ups, rows, bench pressing, that kind of stuff is not two-handed type stuff is nice because you're working both sides. It's about building capacity and what does Louis call it? Physical preparedness. It's a 3-word thing. This terminology, something physical preparedness, but it's all about just being that brute country boy strong.
GPP, stuff. General physical preparedness.
Yes. See, we're going to get along so well.
I've seen a lot of
this coaching is worth every penny you're not spending on it.
Yeah. All that money.
Yeah.
And then, so just with those 2 hands exercises, because I think for me, I want to focus on just pulling and pronating on my volume days. I think.
Okay.
What is a good
roll that way?
Do you have a good accessory that you like to use for 2-handed things?
You really haven't been to my channel that often, have you?
No, I do. I'm really busy.
My Friday evenings is I take a towel hooked to the pin stack and I row it this way. Right. And then I flip it over and I row it this way. So it's everything you want. And I do it every Friday evening. And it's
oh man, I'm gonna find that right after this and just
watch it. I would have almost thought you would have found it and done it before we had this meeting. So if this was a job interview, I probably would be asking for the next candidate. I mean, irrespective of your pink shirt, I probably would have said who else applied.
Look, just to be clear, let me show you this. Hold on.
You let the pink shirt comment go.
Oh, this is red. This is orange. I don't know. This is not pink. This is coral.
You know what? In the comments, tell me what color his shirt is.
Check this out. I already watched these. I rewatched them.
All right.
Just for this.
My Friday evening workouts is all about row volume. No, Friday morning workouts are rows. One of them. I can't remember.
Yeah.
Friday. I do them on Fridays, but I think, and there's a debate, and I'm just going to tell you where I'm at. I think this, lots of volume here and here, and pull-ups is the jogging or the jumping rope for arm wrestling. Okay. Me and Ryan Espy had this conversation. We were trying to figure out the reverse hyper is like the basis. It's like the bedrock for the West Side squatting and deadlifting. I don't know what that exercise is for arm wrestling, but I think it's some type of row. So I think we pull. If you top roll, you pull. If you're hooking, you pull. Even if you side pressure, you pull towards a corner. I think some kind of this, not so much this is it. But I mean, that's what we're trying to figure out, you know.
Right.
But yeah, I think volume day is 2 hands. It's a pin stack or something like that. I mean, but it could be a bent over. I mean, you could grab a barbell and do bent over rows, close grip, wide grip, underhand. I mean, you don't have to have a pin stack to do rows, you know, and you can do a lot more in a row than you can in a pull up, you know, because you could throw all kinds of weight into a row, but that's stuff. It's not something I know, and it's something I believe a little. Okay.
Right. And I had another question, but it slipped my mind.
We're gonna talk again.
I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna use the multi-spinner, and I'm gonna use the ball. Those 4 vectors. I'm gonna do my speed day. I'm gonna record all of them, send them to you. And ideally, I mean, I'd like to have, pretty frequent feedback if that's okay.
You send me every time you send me a video, we'll get together and we'll review it.
Yeah, and also this Sunday I'm going to try to schedule a practice, and I'll record that and also send you those.
This Sunday you're coming to my house to watch the Dave Dutton Craig Andy Davis super match.
Yeah, maybe. What is it, like a 7-hour drive?
Yeah,
to Ohio.
I mean, so you leave.
Not too
it's
bad.
at 1 o'clock. So leave 3 o'clock in the morning. You'll be here.
Yeah, one of these days I could legitimately fly out there and get a session. That would be nice.
Yeah, anytime you want.
Well, I don't know what to do from here, but I appreciate your time, and I hope everyone subscribes and watches your channel, because I think you've been putting out probably the most informative, arm wrestling content that's out there.
I just want to put out the most credible.
Right. So I mean, not to throw shade on like Michael Todd or whatever, but I feel like when you watch his videos,
I've never heard of him.
He's doing stuff that's like really high endurance, and it works for him for sure, but I don't think that that's going to work for me. Right. So
that was where when I started, John Brzezink's been consistent with his training program. John goes, "This is what I did." I go, "Well, I can't do what you did. If you started 20 years in front of me, I will never catch up." Right. And the other thing is when arm wrestlers give you their routine, if their routine and their exercises do not look like their arm wrestling style, I'm not so sure it applies. When you watch my training videos, you can say, "Oh yeah, that's why Todd loses his hand all the time, because he never freaking trains his hand." I do a lot of sideways heavy stuff, right? If I was famous for doing a King's move and my training videos didn't show any King's move training, I'm not so sure I would like connect the two. You know what I mean?
Right.
If I want to learn how to dunk a basketball, I want to see some training routines that increase my jump. I don't want to see a lot of training routines that increase my boggle score or something,
Right.
All right. Well, I'm going to stop recording. Stay online.
Okay.
Children, it's always a pleasure. I'm going to stop the recording here. We will have Chris back regularly. Wait,
Charles.
Or Charles.
Call me whatever you want. I'm already arm wrestling woman, so
we're going to have Charles back multiple times, and I look forward to seeing what I am really looking forward to this. You have no idea. I am dead serious. I am looking forward to your no shit. This is your 4 max effort vectors, bam, 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 for a while, and they will grow. And then then as soon as we think they're going to stall, we'll add more, but we're going to grab the 2 favorite ones. And I am looking forward to pushing them 30 or 40% within 12 months. I mean, I think that's
that would be sweet.
Yeah. I mean, I think we can get you into a lot of 140, 150 pound, 1 rep max vectors with your body weight. I'm going to hit pause recording.